G'day everyone and welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi bloke who loves rugby and I'm living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Now, a couple of things before we get underway. The first one is that if you're new to the channel, well, the reason I started this channel is because I want to play a small part in helping the great game of rugby grow across the world, just by sharing my passion for the game and getting more and more people connected to the game. Now, there's various ways you can help me out in doing that goal, and here they are. You can subscribe to the channel, you can like my videos, you can follow me on Twitter, and we also have a super thanks process as well that you can get involved in. Now, we have one rule on this channel, and that is that we respect everybody, and therefore we have a card system. Yes, so if you're going to make a comment, think long and hard before you write it down, because if it's offensive in any way towards me or anybody in our community here on Inside Rugby with Mark, you will be shown a yellow card. And if you do it twice, then you're going to be shown the red card and you will be blocked from this channel. So think very hard about that. We're all about respect and sharing our passion in a respectful way across the world of rugby. Now let's get into this video and talk about the All Blacks team that's been selected to play against Argentina in the second test that's going to be played at Eden Park in this year's Rugby Championship competition. I'm going to give you my views on what I thought of the selection by Scott Robertson. We'll go through each player and tell you whether or not that's the player I would have selected in that position. So let's get into it right now. Now, the first thing I'm going to admit is it's pretty hard for Scott Robertson to come into the All Black as a head coach, and tons of pressure on him, completely different environment than Super Rugby. And of course, he's got a different group of players to work with as well, different time frames and getting those players together, and a lot more pressure from the media and everybody else across the rugby world. So let's get into it. Let's have a look at the team that he selected, and I'm going to give you my views on some of the players. Okay, so here we go. In the world that I live in, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion, so I'm going to have an opinion about Scott Robertson's picks for the All Blacks. I'm starting to be a little bit concerned about the way that he's going with this All Black team in terms of his selections, and I'm going to talk about that in some detail as we get through this video. Now, I understand by looking at what Robertson's been doing since the England test, the Fiji test, and now the first test against Argentina, he's giving people the opportunity to show that they can step up to the level that's required. So he's been very loyal in his selections. That's one thing I will give for him. On the other side, I'm a guy that would like to see players in there on form who can actually do the job, and have been proving that at some level. So that's kind of how I look at my criteria of team selections. And we're going to go through their forwards first, and I'll tell you who's been selected, and I'll tell you whether I think that is a good selection, and then I ask you to give me your comments on whether you think that's a good selection. So that's how this little game's going to play. Okay, so first of all, in the front row for the All Blacks, and we've got as one of the props Tamati Williams, and I think this is a brilliant move to bring him in and selected. I was wondering why he hasn't already been shown in the All Black colours, because he's a very fantastic young prop. I think by the time we get to 2027, Williams is going to be one of the standout players for the All Blacks in this team, and I'm very happy to see him in the selection. So I think Robertson got this one right. Then moving on into the hooker, and we've got Cody Taylor. Pretty much okay with that. I think Taylor's been playing okay. Hasn't been playing at the best of his level, but let's hope he brings that out at Eden Park on Saturday. And in the other prop, we've got Tyrell Lomax. Again, I've got no issue with this. I think this is a pretty good stock solution, and I'll talk more about the bench that the All Blacks are going to use, because of course we need to look at this front row and how they're going to be replaced as we move into the second half, or for covering any injuries that might happen. Now, moving on to the locks, and the two locks that have been selected for this game, Tupou Vai and Sam Derry. Let's start off with Sam Derry. I think he's had a couple of brilliant tests for the All Blacks. He's showing that he can win and compete for ball at line out. He's doing some good things in general play. He scored a try in the last game, and I think he's been really, really good around the field. So I think Sam Derry is on an upward trajectory as an All Black, and I think over the years to come, I think he's going to be one of those outstanding locks that the New Zealanders have. Tupou Vai on the other side, he's one of those guys that goes a little bit unnoticed in games, a little bit underrated, I think. He's played well without playing exceptionally well, but he's been given another chance against Argentina this weekend in that locking position, and I give the green light for that. I think that's a good selection. Now moving on to the loosies, and I know a lot of you have been talking about the loose forward connections and the selections that have been happening, and in this game Robertson has selected Blackadder on one side and Dalton Papali'i on the other side. So again, the two guys that started the game last week for the All Blacks. Now I have a bit of a problem with these guys. I don't think they're doing the job, and a few of you in the comments have made suggestions around maybe moving Ardie Savea on to the flank, or back to the flank where he was originally from, and bringing Sam Cane in as well, and then having Wallace Satiti at number 8. I would like to see that. I think that could be the back three for New Zealand that really works. But Scott Robertson has gone for Papali'i and Blackadder with Ardie Savea at number 8. I don't think they did the job against the Argentinian loosies in that first test. I think the Argentinian loosies were outstanding. We saw Marcos Crema doing a great job, along with Pablo Matera, and of course Martin Gonzalez at the back for Argentina were absolutely brilliant against these All Blacks. So this is going to be a big test, and this might be the last opportunity for these three guys in those particular positions to show what they've got. But let me know in the comments what you think about the All Blacks loose forwards. I don't like this selection. I think we could have done better. Okay, now let's have a look at the All Blacks forwards on the bench and who's going to come on. And first of all, we've got Asafa Amua. Had that horrendous throw into the line-out in the last game. I hope they've been doing a lot of training on that. I really like Amura. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's got to clean up his technical areas to be really world-class, and that's something that he's got to really focus on. Then the next one we're going to see come on in the front row is Tuanga Fasi, and I think this is a good call. I like Tuanga Fasi. I think he's good around the pitch, and he's one of those players that I think does have an impact for the All Blacks off the bench. And then we've got Fletcher Neal coming on as the other front rower for the All Blacks off the bench. I think Fletcher Neal is outstanding. He does a great job when he comes on for the All Blacks. I think he's a little bit of an underrated player as well, but let me have your views on that front row that'll come off the bench for the All Blacks. And then the two remaining forwards on the bench for the All Blacks is Josh Lord, a Taranaki boy from where I'm from. So good to see Josh Lord getting in there. He's a big, tall guy and exactly what the All Blacks need. So I think Robertson's going to give him some time, see how Tupou Vai goes, and then decide on how they're going to work that going forward, of course, with Scott Barrett coming back into the fray as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how these locks are used. Great to see Sam Cane back in this team, and I suspect he's going to go on and give it everything when he comes on the field. I would have liked to seen him in the starting lineup of this team, as I mentioned earlier, with the change around of the loosies, but at least he's coming in off the bench and he's going to be given a go. And don't underestimate his leadership qualities. There's a lot of men in this All Blacks team that have a lot of respect for Sam Cane, and I suspect that that's going to be proven throughout this game. Okay, so there's the forwards. Now let's have a look at the backs that have been selected, and I'll give you my views again on those. And we'll start off at halfback with TJ Perenara. And if you've watched any of my videos about the All Blacks so far, you'll know that I'm not a fan of TJ Perenara starting the game, and the reason for that is I think his distribution is too slow. And as we saw in the last game against Argentina, while he was on the field, we saw his box kicks getting charged down because he's too slow at that as well. In today's age at halfback, to be a world-class halfback, we need to see speed, agility and accuracy from that halfback position. And Finlay Christie and TJ Perenara, for me, are falling into that category of being a little bit too slow. We've got two fantastic halfbacks, I believe, in Cam Roigard and also in Cortez Ratama, who are stepping up for the All Blacks. And I think in the future, we're going to see these two as the real key halfbacks that are going to be running this All Black team. Now moving out to number 10, another contentious position for me in this team, and I've said it very openly in my videos. I'm not a fan of Damian McKenzie starting for the All Blacks at number 10, but he's been given another go by Scott Robertson, and Scott Robertson has aired in the media over the last number of days that he's sticking with Damian McKenzie. He wants to be loyal to him, and he believes that he's going to grow into the starting role at number 10. Now, there's only a couple of New Zealand rugby pundits that I really admire, and one of them is Justin Marshall. And if you've ever listened to him commentate a game or give his views, you'll understand, I believe, that he's a very fair, reasonable guy, and he knows a lot about his rugby. And he recently said in the last couple of days that he believes there needs to be a change at fly half for the All Blacks as well, that Damien McKenzie is not doing the job required. So if it's good enough for Justin Marshall to say it, then it's good enough for me to say it as well. But I think there's a few of us that are recognising that as a starting number 10, Damien McKenzie is just not giving us the goods that the All Blacks need at this stage. So let's see how he goes in the weekend. I hope I'm proved wrong, and I hope he steps up and has a fantastic game, particularly from his game management point of view, because that's where it's lacking. Okay, moving out to the centres. And first of all, we've got Jordie Barrett at number 12, and I think this is another problem. I don't like the way that Jordie Barrett's been going so far this year. He's not that cutting edge number 12 that can get you through the defensive line and really set up a good creative play. If you watched Damien Deolandi last week against the Wallabies, you saw how he got through and he set off Jesse Creel at centre. Jordie Barrett's not doing that for the All Blacks, and we need somebody in there like Anton Leonard-Brown, I believe, starting this game that's going to do that. So I'm not a big fan of the way that Jordie Barrett's playing at the moment. I think he needs to evolve his game, and we need to see that change from just that one-dimensional play that Jordie Barrett is doing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments around Jordie Barrett. Now moving to outside centre, and we see Rieko Ioane coming back in again. And again, I have an issue with this particular selection because I think Billy Proctor should be in this team for the All Blacks. And if we were going to see Anton Leonard-Brown at number 12, Billy Proctor outside him, I think we would see a lot more creativity, and we'd see the All Black backline functioning in a much more expansive way, because those two would be able to bring that level of consistency in terms of creating attacking opportunities. Again, I think Rieko Ioane is wasted at number 13. He's better when he's out on the wing. He can use his pace to deceive players, but he's not getting that opportunity. I think part of the problem for Rieko Ioane is that he's got Jordie Barrett on the inside of him, and those two have played a lot together. So again, that's my views. I don't think Rieko Ioane should be starting this game for the All Blacks. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, moving on to the back three for the All Blacks in the backs, and we have Will Jordan back, of course. He had a bit of a cameo last weekend, didn't make any impact on the wing, and I think that's because Scott Robertson should have put him at fullback, and he would have had more opportunity, I believe. And this is something else that Justin Marshall and I agree on, because I feel as though he can read the game better. He has more opportunity of picking off players when he comes up from that fullback position, but he wasn't getting the kind of service that he requires on the wing to really make a challenge out there last week in particular. So Will Jordan starting on the wing again. I would have liked to seen him at fullback just to see how he would go in opening up that backline for the New Zealand All Blacks, particularly on the counter offence. And if Argentina saw that in front of them, they would have to change their game plan, because they know how dangerous Jordan is from that particular position. If he's out on the wing, the Argentinian defence can control him a lot better, and I think that plays into their hand. So I think Jordan in the team, obviously a fantastic move, in the wrong position for me. I'd like to see him at fullback. On the other wing, Caleb Clark. I agree with this one. I'm not a huge fan of Caleb Clark over the years, but I am this year because he's been playing fantastic rugby for the Auckland Blues, and he's also played very well in that game against Fiji. So I'd like to see him given his opportunity as he has done in this game. Now let's see if he can capitalise on that and score a couple of tries for the All Blacks, because that's what he needs to be doing. And then at fullback, we've got Beauden Barrett. And while I love Beauden Barrett, I think the All Black mix-up of this team needs to look at where their strengths are. And this is something that Rassie does so well with the Springboks. They look at where their strengths are and they play to those strengths. For me, Beauden Barrett should be on the bench and used as a super sub coming on at 15. We should have Will Jordan in there at 15. And instead, we've got Beauden Barrett starting this game against Argentina at fullback. Now, we've seen in the last couple of games when him and Damien McKenzie are operating together, they're interchanging in that 10 position. There shouldn't be a need for that if you've got a great number 10, so that's a worry for me in the start. Those two shouldn't be interchanging. I know that the idea or the philosophy behind it is to use the magic of both of those players. But as we're seeing around the rest of the world rugby at the moment, we've got number 10s that have got a specific role to play. Sasha Feinberg, for instance, with South Africa, because of the talents he's got, he's able to create opportunities. He's been able to do a good kick game. New Zealand needs to find a number 10 that can do that in terms of starting the game. So Beauden Barrett, of course, he needs to be in this All Black team, I would rather see him coming off the bench, and I'd like to see Will Jordan at fullback. So let me know what you think around those selections. Okay, now it's time to look at the All Blacks bench for their backs in this game, and it's a 5-3 split for the All Blacks. The first one is going to be Cortez Ratama coming on at halfback and replacing TJ Perenara. As I already mentioned in this video, I'd rather see Ratama starting the game. And then we've got Anton Leonard-Brown coming on. And again, as I said, I'd rather see Anton Leonard-Brown starting this game. And then the last reserve back for the All Blacks is Mark Talia, which I find a little bit strange. I think if Beauden Barrett was on that bench with Ratama and Anton Leonard-Brown, we see a different dynamic coming on. With Mark Talia, we see one-dimensional, and I think that's going to hurt the All Blacks in the end. So there you go. That's my thoughts around the All Blacks selection for the second test to be played against the Argentinian Los Pumas at Eden Park in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm very nervous about this game. I would say that before the English second test at Eden Park, I was a very nervous little camper about that game. This one, I'm almost falling off the edge because I think Scott Robertson's got the selection wrong again with this All Black team as we head into the second test. Now, I hope as a Kiwi fan that I'm absolutely wrong, but I think we're missing out on some opportunities to use some of these players in their best positions. And we're also not looking at form in the series so far. We're looking at players who have had problems and they're not rectifying those problems, and I'm talking about TJ Perenara, I'm talking about Damien McKenzie, and I think we've got players that are sitting there on the peripheral who could go in and do a really fantastic job. And we've seen in the case of Cortez Ratama, when he's given the opportunity, he gets in there and delivers, and that's exactly what the likes of South Africa are doing. If you watch Rassie's strategy, he put Sasha in there, he gave him the opportunity to shine, and he did, and now he's owned that number 10 position. And that's what we need to do in this All Black team. We need to give these players the opportunity, not necessarily stick with them because they had a bad game and they need to learn, and they need to be looking in the mirror, and they need to be reflecting, and they need to take ownership of it. We've heard all those words before. They're nice to hear, but we need to see All Black action on the field, and that comes in the way of a good selection. So yeah, as I said, I'm really nervous about this game in the weekend for the All Blacks. I think Argentina is so pumped up to take this one. It'll be an incredible experience at Eden Park this weekend if Argentina were able to beat the All Blacks at the Fortress, and I'm nervous around this team selection. So let me know in the comments what you think about this All Black selection. Let me know what you think about my comments around that selection, and I'd be very open to hearing what you think overall about this game between the All Blacks and Argentina this weekend. Now, I'm going to be back, of course, with much more content as we head into the weekend. I'll be doing an in-depth analysis of both games that are happening over the weekend and giving you my views on how the players went, how the strategy from the coaches went, and why the team that won ended up winning the particular game. So make sure you stick around for that. The best way to do that, of course, is hit the subscribe button, and don't forget those other ways that you can help out my channel. My goal again is to help grow the game of rugby across the world, and if I can do that just by sharing my passion for the game, then it's job done. Okay, I'm going to be back again soon with some more content. Until then, stay safe, stay well everybody across the world. Keep enjoying your rugby no matter where you are, and I'll see you again very soon in the next video. Until then, it's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Bye for now.